right, so it's been some time since I did a last update. There were a couple things that I wanted to actually talk about that I felt I needed to give some more time to. But one of the things I wanted to talk about was some of the things I've been doing to get myself in a better level to maintain my sugars. I know that's the whole point of a diabetic kind of, doing their thing. And I've made some really good progress in the last, month and a half, maybe a couple months. And I thought I'd share that at least, because one aspect of it, actually really important aspect of it, comes down to food. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people who are dealing with diabetes, either they don't fully know where to begin, especially if they've just recently been diagnosed, or it's kind of annoying because you feel like it's a restriction. Here in the United States, I think a big problem is the portions that we have. They're just really large, and that's not a good starting point for somebody who has diabetes, because at the end of the day, you really need to be more diligent in managing what you're eating, how much of it you're eating, and obviously the medication and speaking with your specialists and your doctors and all that is part of it too. But you got to find a system that works for you, and you got to stick with it. And creating new habits is kind of hard for most people. It's really difficult because you just want to do what you've always done, and doing something new is sometimes scary, sometimes it's annoying. And that's pretty much where I found myself the last several years. I would say even like the last decade, is I understood kind of what I needed to do, but it was something that I just didn't stick with. And that was the problem, is this has to be something that it has to be consistent. Otherwise it's just not gonna work. And that's with anything, that's and learning a new trait, and losing weight, getting yourself physically fit, all those things, you have to be consistent to it, or with it, I should say, to be able to see good results. So that's what I have been doing. I have been extremely conservative with what I've been eating. There are some things that I can't really eat much anymore, and through trial and error, I've kind of identified some of that stuff. And I figured I'd share some of that, because one of the biggest problems that most people, like I said earlier, especially if you've just recently been diagnosed, is you don't know where to begin. And when you go to the doctor and they diagnose you, they throw all this information at you. Or if you decide to go see a diabetic specialist or nutritionist, they start talking about these things, and you may or may not understand it. I've been dealing with it for I was first officially diagnosed in 2010, so about 15 years. And I've just recently started understanding just some of the things that I have been told for a long time. And a lot of that is just, in large part, is just the fact that I actually put forth an effort to understand some of it. Did some research, dug into a lot of blogs and just, videos and stuff online. And I have come up with a good system that for me works really well. Whether or not it's going to work for whoever might be watching this, that is, that's one of the hard things about diabetes, is that even though if you could see a good endocrinologist, if you have a good doctor, every person's body is different. Everybody's situation is different. Everybody's financial ability to keep up with their requirements is different. And that's also been a big problem, is the finances. Because if anybody knows, and if anybody's tried, eating healthy is unfortunately not very cheap. It's expensive sometimes. So you have to make a choice. It's like, either I eat things that aren't very good for me, or I can try to eat better and then, maybe struggle with being able to afford some of that. And don't even get me started on the medication and just the treatment. That's just a whole other argument that I'm not even going to get into in this video. Anyway, the point of this video is to talk about what I've been doing with food, because that's a huge part of managing your diabetes, is how to eat better, how to manage what you're eating by, understanding the portions and this and that. Well, for me, it's a little bit more complicated, because and every time I see a new a new physician, a new endocrinologist, they always end up saying something similar along the lines of just like, oh, you're a really unique patient, or you were a very interesting situation. And I think a lot of it too was just my poor management of what I was eating, because, you know, I would show them the numbers, they gave me the medication, we would talk about what I needed to do, and then I would be good for maybe a few weeks or a couple months, but then I'd start, you know, going back to my old habits, and none of that really worked. So I had to really be strict this time around on what I was eating. And for the most part, it has worked this time because I stuck to the plan that I laid out for myself. So just to give you an idea, so basically what I have to adhere to is, for each meal, I got to stay under about 60 grams of carbs per meal. I prefer to actually even go lower than this. So I usually typically try to go around 40, 45. But lately I've actually allowed myself to go within the 55, 60, sometimes even a little over, like 64, I think is probably the most I would ever really go up to. And just knowing that if I do have a higher carb meal, then I'll just need to make sure to either offset that with a good amount of protein, or obviously have some good fibrous foods to help me feel a little bit more satiated and I'm not just snacking all day long, or to be active. Being active is another thing it's incredibly important in general for people who aren't diabetic, but especially for people who have diabetes. You need to be active. And I'm not super active. I've made some changes to be a little bit more active. I've made some decisions to do some activities throughout the day to help with that. But that's the important thing is the amount of food you're eating, the types of food you're eating, and then the activity level. Because if you're not on top of that, and of course your medication, if you're not on top of that, you're not going to be successful. It's just going to always be ballooning out of control. And if you end up like me, you're going to end up being in the hospital once, sometimes maybe even twice a year, due to diabetic complications, whether it be DKA, that's diabetic ketoacidosis, or I was constantly in and out with pancreas issues, pancreatitis, because of high triglycerides, just uncontrollable blood sugars. So when I was in the hospital, right before this last time I was in the hospital, one of the things I realized is that when you're there and you order your food while you're in your room, everything is already portioned out by carb count. So like, say if you want to order grilled chicken breast and you want to have mashed potatoes or cauliflower or whatever, each side, each amount of food is broken down by their portions that they've already figured out, and the carb content is labeled out for those portions, which makes it really easy, because then you can just be like, well, I need this and that, and I can just do the math and it'll add up to whatever, 60 carbs. When I first started out, I did a lot more meal planning, because that just seems to be like the thing you do. Like, oh, I need to eat better, I need to live better, I need to start meal planning. And that's totally fine, and that's a really, really good place to start. I think the problem is that there's sometimes that some people don't know what types of food they need to prepare, or they go overboard and they just like make a huge amount of food and they don't end up eating a lot of it because it's either the same thing every day, or you just get tired of it. It is a lot of work to get stuff prepared, and some people typically will do it on the weekends. I see a lot of videos of people doing meal prep. So they do all this stuff, they package it all up, and then it sits in the fridge, and then throughout the week you can kind of get your food, and it's easy that way. You don't have to sit there and prepare a meal every single day. The problem with that is it's overwhelming. Like, you have to sit and think, okay, well, what do I want to eat this week? And then your brain starts like, okay, well, if I want to eat X, Y, or Z, I need to have to get these ingredients. So one of the things I started doing initially was, instead of making a bunch of pre-portioned meals, I just kind of did a bunch of different proteins. So I usually would do like chicken, ground turkey or beef, and some fish. Salmon was most of the time was what I would choose. And then I would make the different sides that went with it. So I would commonly cook a lot of I would do roasted carrots, root vegetables, so carrots, beets, and sweet potato. I'd roast those together. Sometimes I would have some rice. Initially, I didn't have any rice until I learned the amount that was actually going to work for me. But I would have a little bit of rice sometimes. Broccoli was a big one. Cauliflower was a big one. Zucchini, green beans, asparagus, all those typical types of vegetable sides that we have. I made all that stuff, grilled it, did whatever, sealed it up in containers and put it all in the fridge. And then throughout the week, I could just mix and match. Instead of having a meal that I would just pull out and eat, I just okay, today I want some chicken, and I'll grab some zucchini and broccoli, whatever. So I could just sit there and kind of portion out things and heat it up and have my meal. And that worked really well. The problem was that it kind of overtook my fridge. My fridge was just full of a ton of food that lasted much longer than I thought it was going to, which isn't bad, but then it would just kind of sit there. And at the end of the week, a week and a half, I would still have some of that stuff that I had prepared the week before, along with some of the stuff that I was already preparing for the following week. So it became really complicated in that I was constantly in a state of all right, I need to get more chicken, or I need to get more this and that. And I'd make it and I'm oh, I still have some leftover this from the week before. What do I do with it? Maybe I'll just eat some of it today, do leftovers or whatever. And although that's fine, it just didn't really, I felt it was kind of wasteful, I guess. I mean, I could have scaled back and just be okay, I'm only buying, and I did for a little while. I scaled back on the amount of proteins I was making, because I could have gone and figured out how much to weigh everything I made to figure out, okay, the carb count for, 115 grams of sweet potato is 20 grams of carbs, or 22 grams of carbs. But I'd have to do that for each individual meal. And although people do that, and I did that for a while, that's also kind of time consuming. It's really good to do, because at that point you know exactly what's going into your body. You measure everything out. So I did that for a while with all my snacks, like yogurt. I'd weigh it out. I bought a scale, did all this, was weighing the amount of protein, was weighing each individual side. I would do the math, add up the carb content, photograph all of it. I think there was a post from several weeks ago where I had my food journal. I would photograph my meals, so visually I knew this is what I'm eating, this is how much carbs it is, this is how much everything weighed, and I'd log it into my app. Great. But that also is extremely time consuming, and there were times where I would forget, oh, how many grams of carbs is in 113 grams of sweet potato, and I'd sit there and I'd be looking things up. What I could have done, of course, is just put a chart on all the common things I eat. Again, I am the type of person that would do that, probably, but that's also time consuming. These are things that if you have the time and effort and the desire to do it, that's great. But most people don't do that, and they don't want to do that, and that's why they don't eat well. They start out okay, but then after a couple of weeks of this, you're gonna go crazy, and you're gonna be you know what? I'm done, I'm just gonna eat whatever I want, and then they end up getting sick and going back in the hospital, whatever the case may be. So I was determined this time not to let that happen. So, like I said, when I was in the hospital, one of the things I realized is that everything is portioned out, and it made it really easy. I just phone in my meal, they'd bring it to me, I'd eat, and I knew that it was gonna be what I needed. And I'm I need something like that at home. And so when I left the hospital, I was already contemplating this. This is before I started doing all the meal prep stuff. And the day after that, I realized I didn't have any food at home. I'm oh, I don't have anything to eat that was already made. And I'm I need to go grab something. And I knew that H-E-B has pre-made meals. I was I'll just go to H-E-B. I'll grab a few of those to this was on a Friday, to last me through Friday, Saturday, and then we go grocery shopping on Sunday, and then that way I can get what I need to start meal prepping. So I went and grabbed a few of those meals, and it's convenient because they have the carb content, they have the nutritional information. I'm okay, this is great. This is almost like being in the hospital. I'll just grab a couple of these meals, make sure they're underneath the carb content that I needed to be, bring it home, throw them in the oven, heat them up, I'll be done. And it actually worked really well, and I liked that. I'm this is cool. I was but I don't know if I just want to go to H-E-B every week outside of where we normally go for grocery shopping and buy my meals that way. And I'm maybe there's a better way to do it. So that's when I started doing research on meal delivery services. I kept seeing ads for these things all the time. I never paid attention to it because I thought they were stupid. I'm just learn how to cook. Make your own food. You know, there's no reason for this to be a thing. But in terms of having a service that brings you meals that everything is already portioned out and all the nutritional information is already accounted for, I thought this is a great way for me to be able to be accountable in eating good food. And I don't have to do the math and trying to figure out how much of what item I need to eat. Yes, I'd be paying a little bit more of a premium price because it's being delivered and, you know, this and that. But I was like, you know what? I want to try it out. I want to see what it's all about. We'll give it a shot. And if it works, what I could do is I could just order some of these meals and use it to supplement the food prep that I was already planning on doing anyway. So that's what I did. And I started out, I think I ended up testing out about 4 in total, outside of the H-E-B meals that I could buy that I still occasionally will purchase. So I started out by using Factor. Factor is one that's really common. I'm sure you guys have seen ads for this all over social media. And if you start looking some of this stuff up after watching this video, just be warned, your feed is going to be flooded with nothing but home delivery meal services, because that's all I see now. And it drives me crazy. Anyway, so I started with Factor. That was my first toe dip into the realm of meal delivery services. And Factor is really nice. It's really convenient. They have a nice app. You basically sign up. There's a couple of different tiers, I think, in terms of how many meals per week that you can you want to have delivered. I think it was 5 meals a week or 6 meals. I think it was 6. And, you know, they always have these introductory offers. So if you really want to try it out, I would say go to them, sign up. And this goes for any of these services, not just Factor. They always have like a 50% off your first week or 60% off or whatever, with additional like discounts on the following weeks up to like maybe like 2 or 3 weeks after your first order. And if you really want to try it out, that's the best time to do it, because it's going to be that's going to be when it's most inexpensive, the first couple weeks. So I tried it, ordered some meals, they got delivered. For the most part, I liked them. They were fine. They were good. So I tried them for a week or two. At the same time, I also signed up for a different service called MegaFit Meals. So MegaFit targets, you know, people who are obviously, you know, wanting to eat better. They have meals that are geared towards people who are, you know, they target like the fitness crowd. So, you know, these are high protein, just really super clean ingredients. There's not a lot of fuss, really good quality food. It was a little bit more expensive than Factor, but I did prefer those meals over to Factor just because I liked the quality of the stuff that they had. So I used them for a couple weeks, and I stopped. I didn't use Factor anymore. Really liked MegaFit Meals. That one, they do certain things. You can order meals a la carte and just kind of build up an order, or you can get what's called a box with basically you just choose. There's certain meals that are in this category, and you choose up to 7 or 14. Obviously, it's more inexpensive if you choose to subscribe. So if you like say, okay, I want these, and just bring them to me every week, they do give you a bit of a discount. But I was still in that phase where I wasn't really sure if I wanted to make that commitment. So I just bought the boxes, you know, periodically. So I'd buy one box one week, tried it out. A couple weeks later, I bought another box. I really did like that service. It was good. The food was good. And it actually inspired some of the meals that I prepped during the week, because there were some entrees in there. I'm like, that's a really good combination of like this protein and that veggie or whatever the case may be. I'm going to start making that on my own. That's really good. So good experience. After that, through the service that I use in talking with my nutritionist, that platform has a couple of meal service plans that they work with, and one of them is called ModifyHealth. So I tried them for a while. ModifyHealth specializes in foods that, you know, for more digestive needs. I know that, you know, the foods are a little bit cleaner. There's a lot less like fuss to the meals, so they're a little bit simpler in terms of ingredients, but they're really good. Like, it was funny, I was eating one of the meals, I can't remember which one it was, and I had a realization. I'm like, I can actually taste the food. in this meal versus like the sauce that, you know, some of the other places, you know, have you dump over, or like all the sodium. You know, it's easier to digest. These meals are meant for diabetics and also for people who deal with GI issues. But needless to say, like, it was good, but you know, I was like, okay, I'm gonna try something else. So I kept seeing this ad for another service called Cook Unity, and you know, they advertise it about, you know, being chef prepared and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. I'm already tried. This will be my fourth one. At this point, I kind of had an idea of what to expect, but I was like, I'll give it a shot. You know, maybe the food will be better. Signed up, put in my orders. I started getting the meals, and from the very first meal I tried, I was like, wow, this is way better than the other stuff that I had had before. And so I decided to just stick with them for a bit. So I signed up for the 8-meal-a-week plan, and you know, they do have a huge variety of stuff, but usually I, again, just keep it under 60 grams of carbs, and I'm still able to get quite a bit of really good quality food. And this is by far the best service that I've tried. I haven't tried, there's a ton of them. There's more. There's like at least half a dozen or more that I've seen ads for that I just haven't bothered trying, because I actually like Cook Unity, and I think I'm gonna stick with them. Anytime that the meals have a suggested way to heat it, I usually go with that because they're wanting you to have the best experience possible. So I got everything ready, set up. Sometimes they'll have some sauces or something that's not meant to be heated up, like some veggies or whatever, and you can just take those out and you heat up the food and then you mix it in later. So I did that. And that first meal I had was really good. And I was just like, wow, okay, if this is just my first experience in the first meal, I was like, okay, maybe this is a good sign, right? I think they're prepared locally in kitchens that are somewhat close to you. The recipes, they're all, you know, they send the recipes out. They're made by local kitchens, packaged, and then they're sent to your house. But so far, out of the last 6 weeks or however many weeks I've used that service, there's been like one meal that I haven't really been crazy about. Everything else has been great. The quality of the food is really excellent. The portions are actually pretty good. When I initially started eating, I was just like, they're kind of small, but I had to remind myself, kind of what I mentioned earlier, we have to rewire the way we approach eating and nutrition in this country, for sure, because we're just so used to having excess. We're so used to having like gigantic portions, and most of the food, especially when we go out to eat in restaurants, they're not really good for you. I mean, they're good tasting food, but they're not healthy food. So not only are you not eating healthy food, but you're eating a lot of it. So I had to rewire my brain into understanding and realizing, you know what? This is a good portion. I'll have a salad with it. And that's what I've been doing. The first few weeks, I just always had a salad with my meals because I was still hungry, but also having a salad was good anyway. So, and that's the other thing. Some of the other meals I would have to like, okay, I'm gonna add a bit of sauce, some hot sauce, salt, whatever, pepper, just to kind of jazz it up a bit. I've not had to do anything to any of these meals. They all are really good out of the container once you heat them up. I haven't even bothered microwaving any of them, so I imagine they're still good microwave too. I just do it all in the oven because for me that system works in terms of like my normal routine. You know, before each meal I have to inject insulin. I'm insulin dependent, so I do my injection. Oven's heating up. I put in my meal. Then it's done heating. I just take my meal, I eat it, and I have not had any issues at all. So I like the company, I really do. One of the other things that is really cool about Cook Unity is, I feel like it's a review for this company. Most of these delivery services, they'll just pack up your stuff in a box, of course, with ice packs, and they deliver it to your house. Not a big deal. This company uses, at least with the meal plan that I have, I don't know how it works with larger meal plans like the 12 and the 16 meals, but up to the 8 meals, they have a reusable package. And it does have ice packs, and the instructions were basically just like, whenever you are gonna get your next order, just leave the bag that you got before, because it's an insulated bag with the ice packs. Leave it on your porch. They come, they pick up that old bag, they use it again for, you know, because it's a reusable bag. They use it again for another delivery, and then they drop off your current order. So every week I just leave my bag out when they're gonna drop off the delivery. They pick up the old bag and the old ice packs, and they leave the new one with the new meals. So that's a nice little benefit I thought was kind of cool. It wasn't necessarily a selling point, but the fact that they reuse that stuff and they don't waste a lot, because it's a lot. That one week where I was trying all these services, like I had like so many boxes in my garage from all these meal kit delivery services. It's been really, really good. It's been working so well for me because I rarely have an instance where my sugars are spiking anymore. Yes, I've made a lot of changes in my activity level. Obviously, I'm still insulin dependent. They put me on a different medication to see how that would work. I'm on a GLP-1 medication now. For the time being, these meals will work really well for me because I know exactly the amount of carbs each meal has. Every week, I go through, I pick the meals I want. I know exactly what's in them. I try to stay in that range, and I don't really snack as much as I used to. It's so funny how a lot of those habits have kind of taken over, because before I was constantly hungry and constantly snacking all the time, but it was because most of what I was eating was just a lot of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates don't fill you up. They just make you hungrier, so you end up wanting to eat more. And then for a diabetic, it's just bad because the more carbs you eat, the higher your blood sugars will spike, and it's just a huge cycle of, fail. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing, and it's been working really well. And I only get 8 meals a week, but I supplement it with I usually make breakfast for myself, or I'll make a couple of, I usually have it for lunch and maybe dinners. I've been doing it for both now, for lunch and dinner. Or I'll even supplement it, I'll buy some meals from H-E-B. And the nice thing about it is that I don't have to worry too much about prepping too much food at the beginning of the week. I still make some proteins. I'll still do chicken and ground beef or ground turkey, so that way I have it for meals during the week. But this system has worked really well for me because I eat more consistently. The types of foods I'm eating are way better for me than what I was eating before. I think I only eat out like once a week, if that, and that's usually when I'm just out with Randy on Sundays when we go grocery shopping after church. We always just go grab something to eat, and that's it. That's the only time. So that's like 4 times a month, which before I was eating out a lot, especially during the week, because when I'm working, lunchtime would come around. I'm like, I'm just gonna go grab something real quick and I'll be back and finish working. And so I would have a tendency to just eat garbage all the time during lunch, especially. So that's that type of food 4 or 5 times a week. Like, it was just bad. It was really bad for me. So I'm really happy with how things are going. In terms of my blood sugars, they've never been better. And I'm glad that the plan I've set out for myself is working really well. I'm not saying that you need to do the same thing, but the important part is that you need to find some consistent measures to keep you on track. And it does suck at the very beginning because it's unfamiliar and it might be new, but I promise you that if you find a system that works, whether it be preparing your own meals or doing what I do, which is actually a little bit of both, getting some meals delivered and preparing some of the food yourself, it's way better than just guessing. It's way better for sure than just going out and just getting whatever fast food or whatever takeout, that you want, and then just kind of throwing the dice and like, oh, maybe my health will be good, maybe it won't. Even some of the healthier options in the restaurants, like, it's just expensive. Anyway, I figured that would be a good segue into talking about some of the other changes that I've made. I know that there's other things I want to talk about, but food is an important one, especially for diabetes or just in general for health. So I thought I'd share with you guys what I've been doing, and hopefully that helps. I will link down below to the service that I do use. Like I said, Cook Unity is the one that I decided to stick with. We'll see if I do something different in the future, but for the time being, I really love those guys. They have offered me the stability that I need for my meals to keep me consistent and to be able to help me enjoy food, because that's the other thing, is like I wanted to have some variety. I didn't want to just eat the same thing every week, whether it be healthy or not. So this gives me the variety that I like. I still buy some stuff from H-E-B here and there. Those meals are still good, but I really like it. I've enjoyed it. I've seen the benefits. My blood sugars have been really good. My energy levels have been so much better. Like, I feel happier because I'm making changes that are actually making a huge difference, and I'm hoping that people will see that. And if nothing else, maybe this will inspire some people to at least try to come up with a game plan, because that's the important thing, is you have to choose what course you're going to take, and you might even change it eventually. Like down the line, you might change some things up, but you have to actually start somewhere. And that's how it started with me. Like I just decided, you know what, I need to at least keep my meals under a certain carb count. I need the easiest way to do that without causing such a huge headache and without it being stupidly expensive. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this information. I know it was a lot. If you have any questions, or if you'd like to reach out and ask any questions about what I've been doing with other things, the other meal plans and whatever, shoot me a message and comment down below. And I will see you guys in the next video.